All right, so government is appealing to members of the public not to disrupt the process of Spaza shop registration. So early this week, members of Operation Dudula picketed outside the Jabulani municipal offices to stop foreign nationals from registering their businesses. The National Joint Operational Intelligence Structure and the Health Department said the law allows every shop owner who is a legitimate trader to register their businesses. This comes, of course, after President Cyril Ramaphosa issued a directive requiring all Spaza shops and food handling facilities to register with local municipalities within 21 days. So this measure follows a surge in food-borne illnesses linked to informal traders, which has claimed 22 lives and resulted in over 800 reported cases around the country. Let's chat more a bit about this now and Home Affairs' participation in the Spaza shop registration process. We're joined now live by the Department of Home Affairs Acting Head of Immigration, Albert Matsaung. Mr. Matsaung, thank you very much indeed for your time. We do appreciate it here on SABC News. So this is quite a critical phase or operation that is being that has commenced already. I can imagine that your officials are also out, and it is a multi-pronged approach, I understand. Number one, to check on whether some of these foreign nationals are legally in the country, and also to check whether the permits of those that have them actually allow them to trade, isn't it?
You're correct, Griselda. Good morning to you and good morning to all your audience. Yes, Home Affairs has got a responsibility of actively participating in this process. And issues that are linked to Home Affairs, Griselda, is the issues of documentations. We've got a responsibility of looking as to whether the documents that the people that will be going to register are legitimate documentations and are documentations that are authentic and also valid. That also talks to the identity documents that the South Africans will be using to go and register, because those are some of the documentations that will need us as Home Affairs to be able to authenticate, either be it documents that are IDs for citizens or any other documentations, because we remain the custodians and the people that are responsible for the issuance of documentations.
And Mr. Matsaung, that would include, of course, what I alluded to, whether these permits, if one is in possession of one, actually allows you to be able to trade, isn't it?
You're correct. Because now, from Home Affairs side, in line with the Immigration Act, we've got 17 permits that we are issuing. There are permits that, and in terms of the categories of permits that we are issuing, we've got permits that are classified as temporary. Temporary permits are permits that are linked to specifics in terms of what a person is able to do and for how long, that person is supposed to be in the country. And then we've got another category, which is a category of permanent residence. So those are the two kind of permits that we use. And each and every permit that is issued by the Department of Home Affairs has got specifics in terms of what the holder of that permit can do, where, and for how long. So our permits are linked to what the responsibilities that are linked to what the person came into the country for how long is that person supposed to be in here, and for what purpose. So those are the kind of permits that are issued by us as a department.
This is, however, Mr. Matsaung, likely to expose, some of the flaws within your department, because just a story that I was reading from one of my colleagues who was out in Soweto is that some firearms had also been found in some of these shops that had been inspected. We're talking about rifles that are not supposed to be in possession of, certain individuals. And, when you talk about these permits, there are actually permits that need to give you a go-ahead to be able to trade, which in some of the reportage that my colleagues have done have found that there's absolutely none of that has been acquired by any of these individuals who are occupying these shops particularly in the townships.
Now, Griselda, when it comes to the issuance of permits, every foreigner who is coming to South Africa or who would like to come to South Africa for a reason, that foreigner must pass through the Department of Home Affairs before that foreigner can go to any other department. What it means is that when it comes to the issue of conducting of business, It's only the Department of Home Affairs that is mandated to provide permits to people that would like to conduct business. When it comes to the issue of trading and spaza shops, that remain the responsibilities of the municipality. But municipalities, Griselda, in providing those kind of permits, should always align themselves to the laws of this country, which are governed in terms of Home Affairs by the Immigration Act. Any activity that talks to a foreigner, that activity is an activity that has to be dealt with by the Department of Home Affairs. Foreigners can establish business in the country, but for a foreigner to be able to establish business, the Department of Home Affairs must come first. What it also means is that municipalities, in terms of their processing of these permits, of the business permits, should look at what is it that Home Affairs is offering in terms of the regularization and the kind of permits that are being issued to foreigners in this country. So the process that is basically going to, that the municipalities are engaged with, is a process that will always be linked to the documentations that are issued by Home Affairs. But when it comes to conducting of business, when you want to conduct business in this country, it's Home Affairs that has got the responsibility of issuing you with the business permits.
But Mr. Matsaung, I'm sure you would agree with me, in light of what we have seen and the reportage on the ground, that is simply not happening. Anyone comes from anywhere, opens a business wherever they want to open. There are no systems of checks and balances. This has been going on for a very, very long time. And we sit here today with 22 deaths, and you would find, and I would say this without fear of contradiction, that in the majority, those shops that are being operated, majority of those people don't have these permits to operate any of those businesses. Anyone can come in front of my yard and open, put a, what do you call these things? A table. You see that all the time. Elokshini, when you go there, you go in front of somebody's yard, you put a table there, sweets, allegedly sweets are being sold. But you'll find that underneath all of that, it's wholesale drugs and all sorts of things that are taking place. It's simply not happening. A majority of these individuals who are operating these shops do not have these permits. And if anybody can challenge me on that, you could certainly do so. There's no permits.
But now, Griselda, again, I am saying the Department of Home Affairs issues permits for people that would like to come and conduct businesses.
Yes.
And all the people that needs to come and conduct businesses in this country. And of course, businesses that are in the interest of this country, businesses that are aimed at developing this country and making sure that unemployment is reduced. Those businesses are regulated by the Department of Home Affairs. When it comes to the issue of trading, when it comes to the issue of people that you are talking about that tends to sit on the street, that is where the municipalities comes in. Correct. And that is where the bylaws within the municipality have to kick in or are supposed to come in to make sure that it's regulated. I agree with you. There might have been some of the things that might have happened which are wrong. But when something it's wrong, it doesn't mean that it should not be corrected. So relevant stakeholders such as municipalities are the ones that are responsible in terms of the implementation of the bylaws. They are the ones that are responsible for ensuring as to who trade where. And Home Affairs comes in only on foreigners that would like to come into this country and conduct businesses. And when it comes to businesses, we've got businesses that are in the interest of this country. We've got businesses that are earmarked to develop the economy of this country. Yes. We've got businesses that are there to make sure that they reduce the unemployment. Now, the issues of spaza shops are businesses that are not regulated through the Immigration Act of this country. Those are businesses that are regulated through the municipalities. So the municipalities are the ones that are issuing the licenses. But the process here is that in the issuing of licenses, municipalities must also understand that the first door that they have to pass through is the door of the Department of Home Affairs. Now, you said that there are a lot of businesses which are being traded. The question is, what are the documentations? What permits do they have? And who has been responsible for the issuance of those permits? So you won't find any permit to conduct and to operate within those Spaza shops, or to the permit to conduct within those being issued by Home Affairs, because we don't come in there.
Correct.
That tends to be the responsibility of municipalities.
Yeah. Do we have any idea at this stage, Mr. Matsaung, how many, people who are illegal in the country thus far, in terms of figures that you've had to now deport? And talk to us a bit about the deportation process, because obviously, if during this exercise, it's likely to uncover many people who are not documented to be in the country. Obviously, the deportation process would now need to follow.
The truth, Griselda, is that in terms of the Immigration Act, no foreigner who is illegal is supposed to be in this country. Foreigners that are illegal are not supposed to be in this country. And when we talk about the registration process, foreigners that are illegal must not even move even closer to the registration spaces. Because when you are a foreigner in this country, when you are illegal, you can't still be queuing on this process of the Spaza shop. So when it comes to the issue of the foreigners from the department side, on a daily basis, together with all the relevant law enforcement, illegal foreigners continues, if detected, and if we tend to get into contact with them, the immigration laws of this country kicks in, they are arrested and deported. Then what it means is that during this process, during the process of registration, because our Home Affairs officials are participating countrywide in all this registration process to do several things. Number one, to do verification in terms of the documentations that are being used within those areas, to verify the authenticity of those documents, and also to confirm the legitimacy of those documents. If there are any other irregularities that might be picked up, where foreigners are trying to venture into that space, Home Affairs will not hesitate to implement its immigration laws. We will arrest, we will detain, we will then deport and make sure that those people are deported. What it means is that during this process, if there are any people that are basically going to be trying to take advantage of this system, who do not qualify or who are illegal, then Home Affairs will not hesitate to implement its immigration laws in this case, which is arrest, detention, and also deportation.
All right, in terms of the figures, Mr. Matsaung, what are we looking at this particular time? There's been quite a number of these operations that have been underway since the president had addressed the nation as well. We've seen quite a number of boots on the ground. What are we looking at in terms of figures at the moment?
But before that, you ask a question to say, do we know the number of illegal foreigners that are in this country? Remember, Griselda, the systems that we have are systems that you'll have a record of the foreigners that came in through our ports of entry. 3 ports of entry, we've got land, we've got sea, we've got air. Now, those are the figures that we'll know as to who is in this country. But when it comes to those people that came into this country irregularly, or the people that have been in this country legally, but then they allow their permits they allowed their permits to expire. Yes. Those are some of the, that is an area where we'll have a challenge, because people that are illegal, they will not always present themselves for us to be able to know, because they know that if they present themselves, we will arrest them and make sure that we effect the other process. Now, the question that you are asking again is during this process. I think during this process, because the process has just started, Home Affairs has been in all the areas just to provide support in terms of the registration, to authenticate and to confirm that the IDs that are being presented in some areas are the correct IDs, and also that the people that are queuing within those areas are people that have got the legitimate and correct documentation. It's a process that is ongoing. It's a process that nationally we are continuing to monitor, and it's a process that on a daily basis we are monitoring just to check as to whether there are any other issues of irregularities that might need the intervention of Home Affairs.
So essentially, Mr. Matsaung, we don't know how many, there's no way we will know how many illegal foreign nationals are in South Africa, because it's either they did not come through the legitimate means. That's essentially what we're saying. We don't know.
Most obviously, Griselda, most of the illegal immigrants that are coming into this country are coming irregularly. And a person who comes in through irregular means, who might either cross the river or come through the fence, those people will normally never report to us. And that is the figure that I'm saying within our system we will not have. So the people that are illegal, they know that they are illegal and they cannot present, and there are people that have not presented themselves to this country through illegal means. So those figures, we only know as and when we arrest them to say, this week we have arrested 500, these are the people that are illegal, then we subject them to deportation. The issue of knowing how many is a difficult one.
So the first step that you spoke about, and I acknowledge that you spoke about municipalities and the role that they need to play. But of course, as you indicated, the first stop would, of course, be the Department of Home Affairs. If someone comes from outside South Africa and says they want to come and do business in South Africa, that, of course, would need to be rubber-stamped by the Department of Home Affairs. You would look at all the criteria that is necessary before it even gets to municipal level. Are you also investigating the possibility, because with everything that has happened, one could possibly need to investigate even some likelihood or possibility that someone might have even misrepresented themselves in terms of what they were coming to do in South Africa and gotten that documentation and was allowed then to enter the country on the basis of false pretenses? Is that part of what the investigations from Home Affairs would entail as we try to dissect this multi-pronged approach in terms of what needs to happen with the various departments to root out or to ensure that what has happened is not going to happen again?
Griselda, you'll note that we've got some of the activities that are linked to corruption, where people might end up having documentations that, as and when you look at those documentations, you might think that they are legit. For instance, Home Affairs has embarked on a process of moving from the green barcoded IDs to a smart ID card. Now, when you look at the process of the green barcoded ID, that is where a lot of misrepresentation happened, because now people were able to steal other people's IDs and just replace their faces. And then what we have done as Home Affairs was to make sure that in improving the security of our identity document, what we then did was to introduce the smart ID card. That is why even today we're still encouraging all citizens to go to Home Affairs and migrate from the green barcoded IDs. Because now most of the activities of fraudulent documentations, we end up picking them up, especially on this green barcoded ID, where some people will just deface them and replace their faces. So part of our responsibility during this process is also to make sure that the IDs that are presented, if need be, and if they are suspicious that they might not have been acquired properly, Home Affairs will then assist municipalities in authenticating and verifying and confirming if those IDs are the legitimate ID. I'm just responding to it also to address what you have just said, that there are some of the documents that are falsified, there are some of the documents that have been acquired fraudulently, and part of the exercise will be to root out that. So the message that we are also presenting is that the people that know that they are in possession of these fraudulent documentations, they must just make sure that they do the right thing. And the right thing is making sure that such documents must not in any way be used, and people cannot continue using the fraudulent documentations to register business. They attempt to do it, we'll pick it up and we'll deal with those people.
Mr. Matsaung, thank you very much indeed. We really do appreciate you taking time to speak to us here on SABC News. Thank you very much indeed, and all the best on those operations that you are already on the ground busy doing. The Department of Home Affairs Acting Head of Immigration, Albert Matsaung, talking to us about Home Affairs' participation in the Spaza shop registration